are now listening to Conscientization 101, an online magazine combining reflection, music, and action through independent media. I
think that the only way that we're going to realize freedom, justice, equality, decent living for people is if there's a complete change. Everything has got to be turned around, and that's a revolution. It's a revolution.
Yo, Black.
Yeah, cousin.
Yo, Black. Hey.
I'm going to.
I got this thing here.
What? What's that?
What, you want a billet?
You got chip, fam.
Nah.
What, you got a silver, fam?
Nah, I ain't got none of that.
What, you ain't got a blue slim,
Nah,
fam?
man, I ain't got that.
Man, ain't got
Shut up, Black.
What?
We keep it raw.
As I continue to give it to them raw, Raggo Zulu rebel alongside Doc 4. Morph, where you make the beat stop for. The shop don't close, nor have a shop door. 24/7 say my name encore. When I beg friend and when I beg sponsor, like police raid, everybody on floor. Anytime I step out on the stage on tour, mad like Bossa Boss in his prime. Study the scrolls and we suss the design. Now I touch on mine somewhere sublime. Can't rise no higher like number 9. Take it back to the root and the core. Them boy can't remember, they're too immature. No retreat, no surrender, this means war. I make sure everything I make's raw. Shut 'em down, I shut 'em down. Shut 'em down, shut 'em down. Shut 'em down, I shut 'em down. Never come to fuck around, nah, I shut 'em down. Shut 'em down, I shut 'em down. Shut 'em down, shut 'em down. Shut 'em down, I shut 'em down. Never come to fuck around, nah, I shut 'em down. I make sure everything we make's raw. Games full of up and downs like a seesaw. Rats fake nowadays that you see before. I ain't lying nothing that your eyes seen before.
All right, welcome back to our two-part series on Conscientization 101 podcast with Raggo Zulu Rebel. Now, if you ever heard part 1, we suggest you do that. And we also suggest you go and tell everybody about our podcast far and wide. Spread it around the world. It's free. And once you get ready and you're ready to make that commitment in your life now, when you're ready to make that conscientizing 101 commitment in your life, go ahead and subscribe and get a subscription. And you can listen to, if you thought Dr. Rebel was good on just the first episode, you're going to love him on this next episode. But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it just be better to go ahead and get the whole 2.5 hour dialogue with Dr. Rebel and ourselves?
Yes.
Thank you, Zara, for chiming in like that. Wouldn't it be better to do that? Wouldn't you want to support independent media just like you want to support Raggo Zulu Rebel, Dr. Rebel? Don't you want to do that? But if you're not ready, just go ahead and follow us on Instagram and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends them, tell the man them, the gal them, and tell their homeboys and homegirls around the world. You know what I'm talking about. Sorry, did you want to add anything before we get into part 2 of Dr. Rebel, before we set this up so we can slam dunk this series? But guess what? We're going to get Dr. Rebel back. Dr. Rebel, we see you, brother. All right, Sorry, did you want to add anything?
Want to add that you can also get our podcast on Podcast Directory as well as iTunes, and you can subscribe in either places. You can also stream it from our website.
I was about to say that too. Thank you, Zara. You can't miss any angles. All right, we're going to be featuring, as you can tell, we are about to shut it down as Dr. Rebel brought us into this part 2 of the show. This is it. Now, I ain't saying we ain't going to talk to Dr. Rebel again. Now, that's the man down, gal them, fam them, everything them say in London that they African them, like me. Off in Texas, off up in here.
Off up in here. Some kind of way we can be off, up, and in.
But guess what? I'm studying the linguistics of the African diaspora. And it's still, the linguistics, the etymology of the word them. Especially in the Anglo, people been colonized by the Anglo-Saxons. You got Fela saying them boys saying da-da, 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 and we be saying, Boy, what you them doing over there? Them fools crazy. Them fools crazy. Over there they say that man them the guy there. But we talking too much. Dr. Rebel is awaiting us. We need to get in. Sorry. So why don't you set it up for the people, because this is the last time me and you will be in the studio for this part 2 of Dr. Rebel. So how do we go into this? Set it up, because this is just the excerpt and they can only listen to the 2.5 hour dialogue with us and Raggo Zulu Rebel if they get a subscription. So you need to get ready and can make that commitment in your life. So go ahead and set us up. What are we going to hear jumping into this first part of this interview?
Well, in the first part, we're going to talk about competition in the music industry. We know that's fierce, so we're going to be talking about that. And Raggo Zulu Rebel is going to introduce his degrees of pimping system.
Well, let's not say his degrees of pimping. He ain't pimping nobody.
Well, I'm saying his concept of the degrees of pimping. Not that he's pimping anybody. He has...
I just want to make it clear, because you're going to be saying the brothers are pimp.
No.
And then we got to clarify that shit.
He was explaining how people get pimped in the world and everybody. But you got to listen. I won't give it away.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away. They need to... We ain't Red Hot Chili Peppers.
This is how he broke it down. Not his... actions.
We are talking about his analysis. His analysis
yes.
of the world and analyzing phenomenon.
Yes, and making it plain for the man them and the gal them.
All right, so we just gonna jump into this conscientization 101. We see you at the end. Actually, we not. We just gonna have somebody see you at the end. Somebody gonna talk to you at the end. But Raggo Zulu Rebel, peace out. We gonna listen to part 2. Love you, brother. Peace.
My mama said so. No blows below the belt like a lesbo. Keep it clean, lads. That's what the rest said. Crumble under pressure anytime it's been tested. That's why I ain't interested. Locally known, universally respected.
Well, everything is a competition nowadays in society. Like the way that they present everything, like especially like down to the creative arts and stuff. Like once upon a time, if you look back to like the jazz era and that, or whatever, or even reggae, or whenever, or even heyday. In the hip hop era, and hip hop's a contact sport, I would say, is based on bravado. But yet still, there was room for people to be their own entity, you know, like different vibrations. But now everything with things like pop, like for example, you'd have in jazz a Dizzy Gillespie, you'd have a Miles Davis, you'd have a John Coltrane, you'd have different people, and it wasn't about who was the king of jazz. It was about, no, this person was individually great in his own character and his individuality and his own talent. And this person was individually great, and so was this person, as opposed to, and they made the whole scene great. You know what I mean? They made the music great. Yeah. Now, what they tried to do to get to from young, because if you check like Pop Idol and American Idol and all these other things, it's not necessarily about the best talent or about the best whatever. It's about who can fit in the machine the best, and then we will market you as the best. Yeah? A competition on what you can do for these people and how you can change yourself to become what they want,
right,
in order to rise to be the best. Rihanna, she's not the best, you know. She's not really a great talented singer at all. She's got some right music from time to time, whatever, if you like that kind of thing. But she's not the most talented person, yeah?
That's true, bro.
Through marketing, advertising, and consistently pushing her music, because she's, you know how much music, she's a very hard-working woman. You know how much music she's released in the last 5 years. Like, once upon a time, it used to take artists 20, 30 years to release the amount of music that artists release these days. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So all that music in your face, through the power of repetition is logged in there, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can't remember a time when she wasn't here. Mm-hmm. So it's not about who is the best, but it's about the competition to fit in, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's about breeding that individuality. It's like uniforms in school, so we all look the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like robots on an iRobot line. You know what I mean? We're all fitted to be the same, kind of thing. Yeah. With that now, that's what school is about, though, when you think about it. Because school is not really about education or about teaching you to think for yourself. School is about getting you to be the best shelf picker or cotton picker.
That's right.
To pick for these big corporations, whether it be Tesco's or whether it be Walmart or whether it be picking up artists, or you could be or if you're really good at that, then you get a little promotion and you become a manager, or even like back to the creative arts, you could be an A&R or whoever, but it's the same thing. Big plantations, big corporations, pimping off poor people for the little resources or the creative resources of the world. And with the art thing, they try to, if you notice, every time a sound comes out, it becomes the biggest sound. Like, for example, 10 years came out of the Yeah sound. Remember, yeah, and everything.
Yeah, I remember that sound.
Yeah.
That
Alright.
synthesizer sound. Yeah.
Remember before that in R&B, R. Kelly came out with the water drop sound, the bloop,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoop,
and everything was bloop.
whoop.
All right.
Yep.
Um,
I remember that shit.
everything's gone dance. Remember, like back in the 90s when hip hop music was kind of that kind of mad dance music you used to see, like in Bad Boys 2, the movies when they're going. Have you noticed the whole of hip hop and R&B's gone back to that again? Back to that mad kind of
Yes.
kind of like Chris Pratt. Kind of, some of it's all right, but it's just not what I know the thing to be, kind of thing. Yeah, and I don't fight change. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. But it's just I sit back and I observe and I watch and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting.
And I want to add this. It's funny you mentioned Rihanna. Then we're gonna move to the next question. I know, but it's funny. I had to say this. It's funny you say like about how Rihanna like a hardworking woman, and we live in the system. We still live in the system of imperial system. This worldwide, it's imperialism. We got neocolonialism. It's a capitalist system. And so when we think about, I think she's a very exploited woman. I think she get pimped really hard. And the thing, she does get pimped hard. I'm thinking A-Ball MJG. What's wrong with me? But anyway, the reason why I say that, because when we look at your output, like, you got a lot of albums. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard for us to keep up, but we're going to keep up because that's what we do, right? But you have a lot of albums, but I don't see no pimping. So, you see what I'm saying? So, I would say, like, that's just me saying, this is not me, this is an objective reality. Raggo Zulu Rebel is a hard-working artist. Works very hard. What you say with the track with Guilt, Cyclonius, and Big Cakes, and they independent, put it on the shelves ourselves, that's hard-working. I would just want to clarify, Rihanna is very pimped. So I just want to say that. That's just me. I'm sorry.
Just about to clarify the difference. The main difference is, like you said, it's independent.
Yeah.
Put it on the shelves ourselves. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
With her, she's got the whole. She's the example of the model that they want for people to see.
Exactly.
So that's why she works so hard, because she's the mannequin or no, I'm not even to knock her.
I know, you're just telling the truth. It's the truth.
She has worked hard to be that number one mannequin. So all round of applause to Rihanna. But the point is, that's what she does, and I think, yeah. And then other people try to emulate that to achieve that status. But then that's what the system will allow.
Exactly.
Let one of us get through, like your Obamas or whoever the case may be, yeah, in order for us to say, yeah, that's a token reality kind of thing. Like, yeah, we can all achieve that maybe if and then so we don't change things as a whole for everybody, because it's not just us getting shrugged over. Everyone's put in a little box because there's something to bump from everybody. Yeah? That's the way the thing. That's even the reason why the whole supposed abolition and will and Wilberforce and all this BS or whatever, because black people was kicking up too much fuss, was tired of being and the whips and the chains and etc. 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 The world weren't having it. What can we do? Let's enslave everybody. It worked before. Let's continue it. You know what I mean? So the whole thing of, and like, if you turn around and come out your box and hang on a minute, rare, they're getting pimped. He's getting pimped. They're getting pimped. But we're in this now. I'm a black man, and now you're a black woman, and now I'm mixed race. No, I'm just light skinned.
Oh
no,
God!
No, I'm mixed. My family. I'm Dominican, and I'm Italian on my grandmother's side, and we getting pimped. That's it. That's the bottom line. Yeah, you might be getting pimped for 45%, and I'm getting pimped for 50%, and this one's getting pimped for 65%, and this one's getting pimped for 70%. And that's the only thing that's keeping us in line. Is that the little bit of pimping, less pimping that is going on. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, boy, we could be getting pimped like those. Actually, yeah, for real. All right, boom. As a black man, it's hard, but it could be worse. I could be getting pimped like the pimping the black woman. Do you know what? Cool. Instead, you turn around and go and liberate her, or turn around and go kick off the door on the other side, or speak to another group and say, you know what, light skin brothers, or Indians, or whoever it may be at the time, because you have to work with the available resources to you.
That's exactly.
You will turn around, like, a lot of people never want to. If you check how the system operates, yeah, you go back through history and you'll see England and Britain, France and UK at war all the time.
That's right.
When the thing hits the fan, they get together.
That's right, brother. They sure do.
And not only that, not only that, you will see the leaders send men to die. Yeah, old men send boys to die for their causes.
That's right.
But the old men are all friends, so it means no difference to them. It's just like, see how they play Call of Duty or Games of War or Monopoly or any of those kind of games there kind of thing, or like, remember Battleships or any of those kind of games?
Yeah, I remember.
That's war. That was war to these men. They sit down and play it, or chess, and be like, oh, I took your rook. Yeah? And taking your rook could be 1,000 men, and 1,000 men being beheaded, 1 million women being raped and murdered, and 1 million children being stabbed. Do you know what I mean? But to them, it's just a night on a board.
Yeah,
Because it's a distant reality. And that's even the reason why people don't change things, because, you know, you take, like, for example, in England the other day, we've got a thing called Red Nose Day, some comedy thing where they, what they do every year. So, you know, remember Band-Aid?
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid?
Off and all them. Let's heal the world.
Oh, yeah.
That thing, yeah. Since then, they've done this thing every year where they get all the comedians together and they make everybody laugh and they donate money to these charities or whatever, and they raise millions and millions and millions, but Africa's still poor, yeah?
Yeah.
Supposedly. But it was on the other day, and what was the point I was going to make?
We was talking about the pimping and how these men, the French and British try to act like they're each other's throat.
Fight each other.
But then they still get together and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I'm not even sure what the point was to do with that, but yeah, back to this thing, this comic relief thing. Since I was a child, since Band-Aid, this thing's been on, yeah? And these people raise millions yearly. They've got my school kids in school raising money for charity and pimping their parents, yeah? And all kinds of stuff or whatever. But where's the solution? I mean, they build two clinics, they make a nice video, life continues. Just like all these research companies for all these this, that, the fourth cancer and this and that. For as long as I remember, they've been researched. I think Chris Rock said it one time. These men ain't even cured polio yet.
No.
Yeah? The diseases just go away.
There's no money in the cure.
But there's no cure. But there's big cancer. There's big research fund. They're not, and the thing is, all in the name, because they're not trying to find the cure. They're just researching.
Yep.
It's like civil rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black people wanted rights in America. Yeah. They went, did a bag of marching, got bit up by dogs, did some writing, stamping, legal action, etc., etc., etc. The right to be civil, you probably got it because you're civil already. You're behaved. You're well behaved. Black people didn't know black rights because they didn't ask for black rights.
Right.
Gay people want gay rights. They ask for gay rights because that's them. It relates to them. Women want rights. They go for women's rights. Or policemen's dogs want rights. Yeah. Policemen's dogs get rights. Yeah. You've got to be specific. It's the power of the word kind of thing, and that's the reason how through the technical and the loopholes of language we get bumped out of a lot of the things that are due to us. You know?
Exactly. And I think the reason why we do that is, like you said, no bleach whatsoever. I got to mention that track because we are ashamed of Africa, and Africa is the richest continent on earth. And, you know, you got Oxfam coming out of the Great Britain. They always trying to raise money. Well, don't they stop looting? The Berlin Conference put them borders up there. And so that's why you can hear it in the circles. We self-censor ourselves and say, let's not say Africa. Let's not even say black. Let's say civil rights, or it's for everybody. Let's say power to the people. Let's say people. Let's say we got some, you know, we have our own relationship to stuff.
See, you hit the nail. Now, people power, that's not an issue. But who are you? What section of the people are you?
Exactly.
If you want your power, you must be specific.
Yeah.
So once people are already the power, yeah?
Yes.
And people already do have power. But do you have power? And if you don't have power, how are you going to get it? You have to write a specific plan of action to steps from this A to B to C to D to see yourself through to get it. And part of it is knowing what you want.
And knowing who you are, exactly, yes.
And you can work towards it and achieve it. So you as a black person wanting some of these people power, you must be black power that you want, no?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right.
It's absolutely right.
That's why they can apply civil rights to white women.
Yeah, and
they get more benefits
from it. And the thing about it is, it's like black, that people try to take black without make it outside of the human family. Like we all, like you said, many different nations, different colors. The thing about it is, African is within the family of humanity, but African people, when they become Negrofied, we get scared and we want to fall into that universalism and not say that. I want Palestinian power for Palestinians.
All right.
African power for Africans at home and abroad. I have to, when I say people power, I know there's different people, different types of people with different cultural and national backgrounds within the human family. But as Africans, we scared to say that. We want to say, everybody power. No, everybody didn't go through slavery like we did. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's the training we get.
I can't turn around and give Palestinians power until I get power as a black man.
Look how we look like a fool.
I have no power. How can I give you power?
Exactly. Thank you. We look like a fool. I'm sorry, but we look like a fool every time we run around here talking about we gonna help somebody else.
Yeah.
Negro, help. You can't even. You look like a fool. Palestinians got it more in line than we got. We all disorganized. Don't even know who we are.
Well, yeah, because what can we give anybody? We don't have it.
Sorry, sister, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, what can we give everybody else, and we're not organized ourselves? What can you offer anybody else?
You look like. I mean, I'm sorry. God, dog, getting all this.
Go ahead.
Two parts of the thing, because being that Africa is the mother of civilization. There's a certain in your genetic memory. There's a certain responsibility you feel being the parents of mankind. Yeah. Just naturally, it just comes, kind of thing. Yeah. But then again, and not only that, when you tap back into that life vibration, like I said, the oneness of it, you can feel the fullness of everything that has been. You might not be able to put your words on it and say it or whatever, but yeah. And so once you tap into that, because that's why other people that are on some spiritual thing from other nations want to come and turn around and be in Africa, because they've tapped into that kind of something. So it takes them back to Africa and they won't deny it. Yeah. But once you tap into that, but then with black people, where we've gone through that slavery and that subhumanization, it is that's what it is now, kind of thing. Whereas like when to turn around and claim it, do you know what I mean? Or to turn around and it's like you're afraid to be.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's insecure. Like I said, back to the thing about power, where we've been lacking this power for so long. Now you're insecure of power and don't know how to manage it when you have it. You know what I mean? It's a thing of like, whereas you're not even powerful, where you've always been perceived as a threat, you're scared of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, and that is it, kind of thing. So when you're around people, like from a youth, I was always big and I was always black, and I grew up around a lot of white people. When I grew up in around my nan's, it's in the north of the country, and like in London, it's more of a city. And most of the cities, you have your little black communities. I grew up in the town, kind of thing, from my young ages, and I was around a lot of white people, so it kind of made me know that I was really black. You know what I mean? Because you get all these little off back to your country, your black monkey, go back to Africa.
I know exactly what you're talking about. This is Texas, yeah, exactly.
All right, but then as well, though, you have a big black community though in Texas among you. As much as you will get that outside, but you have that. My black community was me and my grandmother. You know what I mean? And one other guy, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So then a couple Asian kids or whatever. So it was an experience, and it also kind of made me see different, like, whereas certain times they would go on wicked with the Asian community and then try to embrace me because I was an asset. I was big, I was strong. Like after I'd gone through a lot of fighting with a lot of them, kind of thing, it was like rare. Well, we can't beat him, so let's join. But it made me see how people are about groups and power and division, and that, like, this whole thing is about insecurity and power. The whole of life is insecurity and power. When someone feels a threat of you, they're going to do things if they have time and scope to watch you for long enough to disempower you or to level the playing field. You know what I mean? And when if you are in a natural position of power, you're not necessarily going to feel a threat of less. You know, they say lions don't lose sleep over sheep. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Watching the world, thinking, I've got to watch my back. These wildebeest are kind of rowdy. You know? So, and that's even sometimes the problem though, because it can be a downfall. You know, because your enemy, if you read what Sun Tzu and thing or whatever, your enemy will be the least suspected one. You know what I mean? They're gonna do things on the back foot and they're gonna catch you slipping. You know, so that's something you can learn from looking back at history. Is to just because you might have power, it's the responsibility of yours to maintain it and to appropriate it and to what others without it around you and how they operate. You know.
Yeah, that's the problem with us being so alienated from ourselves too. You know, we don't even, function as human beings. We actually just function to serve other people. So that is a huge problem.
But that's the niggerization, man.
It shows.
That's what a nigger is to do. It's the breaking a horse. You know the whole Willie Lynch. You know what I mean? A horse is running wild free in the bush doing its thing, running wild in the American outback, wherever they run. I don't know. And then find it, they put some hooves on it, they beat it on, and they teach you how to jump through hoops and to run around in a circle and to halt and to skip and to bow and to neigh and etc. And then it's no longer that horse, you know? And they say wild horses couldn't drag me away. That horse is not trying to drag you anyway. That horse is going where you take it to, you know? So that is the nature. And then now you're going to let the horse free and be like, yeah, run free. You think? The horse is like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? So you see Madagascar.
Yeah.
All right, when the lion gets back to the jungle, he's running around for 6 months acting like a city lion, you know what I mean? Doing plays and stuff. And
I remember.
Friends. It's just like, wow, the jungle, oh my day. You know, like it doesn't naturally respond to it because he's been domesticated.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember that.
Domesticated.
Yep. You know, moving on to the next question, you always, your whole catalog has an overriding theme of a recognition that Babylon is falling, you know.
Like we were just talking
about, you know. And with that recognition, you consistently stress the importance of us recognizing ourselves as Africans, as like we were just talking about, to build our own economies, create our own ways of being, our own ways to sustain our lives. And, you know, that's where you get true liberation and power, because nobody, like you said, no other nation is going to give it to you. You got to do it yourself. And we have to do what, like Frantz Fanon says, we have to stop looking to Europe, because look at where that has gotten us so far. So how does that understanding inform your actions as an independent artist? We may have already talked about this.
I think we kind of just did touch on that.
But I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yeah, just even as a human, like as a nation, as an individual, self-reliance. Really, Marcus Garvey told me from a long time, self-reliance is the highest science. So you got to do for yourself. And if you're always dependent on someone, then for anything, then that person's your master. If you look at like Malcolm and Elijah Muhammad's relationship, you know what I mean? As much as Elijah Muhammad did great things for Malcolm X, ultimately, it was limiting him in his growth.
Yeah,
having another man over him, and it's not even Elijah Muhammad's fault. It was just that Malcolm was so in awe of the information and the connection. Like I was back to I was saying about that love, it's the connection with that most high vibration of your purpose, knowing you're on the right path. Whereas he put him on it, he was so in awe that he kind of disregarded everything that he had already learned in his experience as a roadman. Yeah. As a roadman, you wouldn't really put a next man over you like that, or if you did, you'd be weird because you know tomorrow you might have to kill him. But as a spiritual man, and being connected and from a love vibration, you didn't really think of it as that, but you can't have anyone over you because that person will be your master. You got to be self-reliance, man. You got to be because that's idol worship. If you turn around and put someone ahead of you in that context, that's idol worship. People give you teachings, people give you direction, people give you, they put you on your path, but it's your journey. Or if it's not a person, then you turn around and, like, see, I said about connecting love to the people, the walks in the park holding hands, or love to the being in the club with the blunts and at the strip club with the homies, or love to the smooched up in front of the Ben Stiller and Cameron Diaz movie, or whatever maybe, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you can't really put nothing above you. And even people would do these things that as artists, we would turn around and put this whole attachment onto how other people have made it in other, like, I need to get signed to Universal, I need to get a contract to Def Jam, or I need to, until then I haven't made it. But every man has to make his own way. You know what I mean? You have to walk your path. And following the next man, you're only going to be in someone else's shadow your whole entire existence instead of carving out your own way, you know? Leaving your own mark. So,
exactly.
And as a creative being, why would you want to just recreate that? I wouldn't want to make another Mona Lisa. Or I wouldn't want to make another, you might look back, like you see in a lot of my music, I look back and have reverence to the artists that came before me, or the artists that gave influence, and I sample little lyrics or stuff, or jump on certain beats or whatever. But I still want to bring it forward. You know what I mean? Like, forward ever, backward never.
There you go. Yeah, it's exactly. It's like, it's funny because, like, it's not funny, but it's like you said, like, you got tracks like Marcus Garvey on Job Messenger, you know, and I love Firebun, like, and Marcus Garvey, you know, like, he talked about, you know, you got to think Marcus Garvey was in the earliest 20th century when he was around. So things have changed technologically wise, but the objective still remains the same. Like you said, you know what I'm saying? RPG, you know, so we still got to build that sense of nationhood and independence. At the same time, we have a better way to do it. And so we might have to organize our Black Star Line a little bit differently because we have such technological advance, but the independence, like he said, do not look to other nations, and you must be independent. Otherwise, I mean, you deserve what you get. And so you have to bring it forward, and you can't. I see a lot of people, they want to say, well, Malcolm did this, so I'm going to do exactly what Malcolm did. Garvey did this, I'm going to do. You can't do it like them. You have to follow the essence of what they're saying and apply it. You know, and that's what you do in your music. That's what it will say. So, yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Application.
Yes.
Put it in application, because knowledge without application is not. You can't turn into wisdom, because wisdom you gain for experience, isn't it? So
that's right.
It's not. It's you just armchair revolutionary. You're sitting in, or a barbershop revolutionary. You're sitting there and you're chatting, but nothing's not coming of it. You know.
Yes.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah.
No one remembers old Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey said, red, black, green. Marcus Garvey is red, black, green. Marcus Garvey lives red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green. Marcus Garvey said, red, black, green. Marcus Garvey is red, black, green. Marcus Garvey lives red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green.
I believe in prophecy, so I'll be trotting to the east to sit upon the mountain peaks with my people surrounding me. Listen to Selassie speak, prophecy of Garvey, Nubian army, citizens of God, no one can spiritually harm we. My mind power can create a tsunami and drown anyone who try to take it from me. Who wants to come against Selassie guy's army?
One nation, charging for reparation. Fuck this degradation, freedom is my occupation. On the road to Zion, revolution generation, forever raping the system for what is mine, cause it was taken. United States of Africa, upon my meditation. Spray Count Dracula and his blood sucking pagans, fire blazing. The Baptist Garvey army is paving to Exodus, the Black Star Line is awaiting.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green. Garvey said the people without knowledge of the past, history, origin and cultures like a tree without its roots. So listen deep, if you have no confidence in yourself, then willingly you are twice defeated in the race of life instantly. So literally, hold your breath cause this vision's deep. Garvey said, look in the east, who is it? I see the king of kings and his divinity. Emperors, men and land together, that is the Trinity. Black Africans build a new Africa. Back to Africa, style line around the carrier. J. Hoover use Babylon barrier, but then the youth are new gen warrior. Black and proud, that's what you're meant to be. Can't you see the motherland is where we're meant to be? Physically, mentally building economies. Marcus Garvey said the pathway.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green.
And what you know about Marcus? He was the founder of the UNIA. He stopped my people from going astray. Prophesied the Black Kingdom, so that's it I came. Told us to rise up and repatriate. Come before the shout to cast the evil demons away. Use words, power and sound to bring the burning flame. Open up some eyes and brought the kings and queens out from the slaves.
Red, black, green, just Marcus Garvey. Let's start the army. Blast at Nazis. Tell the women and girls to advance as archons. You have to know yourself, cause you can't be Barbies. Father's dark seed, planted large trees to tell us we can't grieve. Start the army. Marcus Garvey plus Master Marley. Rastafari from Rastafari.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. Red, black, green. Red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey said,
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey is
red, black, green.
Marcus Garvey lives
red, black, green. 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 Red, black, green.
let's get into your latest album. I really want to talk about this Holy War. All right. When we first listened to Holy War, I must say I was like, oh, holy shit, this is an album. This is an experience. You got. I mean, I'm looking at my notes here. I mean, you got like a little belly on here. You know, a little belly intro and stuff. You got New Jack City, the story of Pookie. That's like one of my favorite. the story of Pookie. I mean, you took me back to the New Jack City. I mean, you got the story of Pookie, the Star Day with Tony Ayers on there, boy. I mean, you got. I love Sitting in a Cell. You got Herb Yidden with Bob Marley talking to that crazy woman. He had to set her straight on there.
Yeah, I gotta turn that off. That woman makes me mad.
That woman be trying to talk bad to the man. You know what I'm saying? Then you got Inner Demons. Oh my goodness, I love Inner Demons. But and this is why, listening audience, this is why I'm saying the ad-libs, the paranoid, that's my jam. Cause you say, I ain't even got the job. That's my, okay. But we really like the album, as you can tell. It's an experience. I really love that. I mean, but we definitely have to, we want to ask you, why the title Holy War? How did you come up with this? And we really want to ask about the Hell Jah track and Ape in the Cave. What happened? What happened to you? Were you walking down the street and you had to say, man, I ain't never come from no ape in no cave? Do. Tell us about this album, Raggo. Please, because this is off the chain, please.
You guys, the Holy War is kind of it's a continuation from the Bible and the Gun, because the Bible and the Gun was about like the violence and spirituality. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like war and peace, innit? So, and Holy War is kind of it fitted with what's going on right now, because they're trying to push every religious group against every religious group. Kick this thing off here, but then also everything is generally a war. And see, like I said, that one vibration. It's a war to turn everything against each other and put everything in boxes and put everything. And the only place that's really holy left, because religions are corrupted and countries are corrupted and people are corrupted and ideals and all these things that we create and art and music, and you can get kind of really depressed and be like, oh yeah, but the only thing that's really left is the soul. And so that's where the war is really. And they're trying to do everything to crack your soul. For example, like on the album, you've got Schizophrenic Paranoia, yeah?
Ooh, that's the jam. The voices in my head.
That's a lot of the result of what's going on. And if you take it back, like you said about the New Jack City, I'm an 80s baby. So that's kind of the generation that I've New Jack, that's about the 80s kind of thing, yeah? And
we know.
If you check it, this is 30 years on now, the generation. This is what's happened from that time to this time. So when you're telling the story of Pookie, a lot of that's the story of my generation or people's parents and how we've had to, you know what I mean? Where we're coming from, where we're going to. So if you check cause and effect, look at it from like New Jack City and growing up with parents in jail, parents in the drug trade, parents in this, that, like shot, murdered at the wedding, or any scenario that you want to pick from the movie, yeah? And you plant a seed in that scenario. That's how we've all grown, yeah? And then you look at people with paranoid schizophrenia, or you look at people with inner demons, or having to deal with your inner demons in order to maintain your soul, because that's the only holy place left, or that's the only sacred thing left. What was the other song?
The Hell Jah and Ape in the Cave. Ape in the Cave.
It's historic warfare kind of thing, where people are turning around and re-editing things and media image of people and of themselves and reusing facts and all this kind of like it's war on you at all angles, and that's even the reason why a lot of young men are mad. People say, why are these young men shooting each other and stabbing and killing and because we're warriors and we come from a warrior aspect and a warrior whatever, but we've been domesticated and emasculated, and then we're being attacked from every angle, psychologically, by chemical warfare, media, psychological warfare, drug trade, in the family, in the home, physically by the police. You've got songs like Sitting in a Cell. Religiously, you've got songs like Nameless God, where people don't even know their culture or themselves.
Yes.
So all that adds up to me to be a holy war. You know what I mean? Like all these things that, like I said, when you go back to, remember I was saying earlier in the conversation about what the principles of godliness, yeah, that's an attack on all those things. You know what I mean? And so if that's not a holy war, I don't know what is. But what they'll try and tell you a holy war is, the Muslims fighting the Christians, or not even that, the Sunnis fighting the Shiites, and then they'll tell you that the Catholics are arguing with the Protestants, and the Protestants arguing with the Seventh-day Adventists, and the Buddhists having arm wrestles with the freaking sheikhs, and they'll tell you it's that to keep you focused on the smaller things. Yeah, back to like the whole like supremacy or whatever the case may be. They've got you concentrating on the box that you're in, so you're not looking at the bigger picture to say, rare, some big pimping's going on out here, and I feel like I'm wearing suspenders and high heels. What's going on? I don't like it. No?
Yeah.
Ape in a Cave. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh no, go ahead.
Ape in a Cave. It came from my old lyrics still. On that's what I was saying. I got to upload some music for you guys. On a mixtape called Selassie Hassan, one of my first mixtapes after John Messenger. There was a song called Black Leader, I think. Yeah, the song called Black Leader. If you go on the internet, you might be able to find it. It's on if you just Google my name and Black Leader, it might be on, but I don't think the whole thing's up there. But it was just a small passing lyric in it, and then me and a friend of mine clued up. We did a song together, and it kind of came from that. He was like, "No, we need to work on that kind of thing." But basically, yeah, they would tell you that we come from monkeys in a cave and all this kind of business and that. But no, then I come from Africa and I come from civilization.
Right.
And I come from a great line of historic reference, not even historic, my historic reference, my story. Anyone else's story, or not even that, it's mankind's story,
Exactly. It's like when you
world history, if you live on this planet, is relevant to you.
Right.
But they'll twang you and tell you it's this person's and that person's, or no, actually this happened that way, and they don't even know half of it themselves. They just want to mix it up, so we don't know and we argue. Because if you check it, back to the Babylon must fall, back to scriptures, man was trying to build towers in Babylon. They were trying to build the highest tower so they could reach the heights of, and it was a physical heights, it wasn't the spiritual heights that they was trying to reach, physical heights they was trying to reach. And then the tower got licked down because naturally what goes up must come down. And when it came down, and it was all nations that came together to do this, and when it came down, it was confusion. No one could speak. So confusion, babble. That's what babble. Yeah. Confusion must fall, and that's what's happening in this time because people are coming to overstanding from all kind of different sets and sections or from different, but people are coming to a common understanding in this time. It's like a resurgence in information and even if certain people, they're not even necessarily reading nothing, but they just in themselves instinctively are coming to an understanding of themselves and nature, and the way that things are going is not working. So that's because the Babel and the confusion is falling, and so that's it. We don't even need to go and burn down anything or hit down anybody or shoot up anybody or nothing like that per se. Like, I'm not saying turn around and go and march in the streets and get kicked down yourself and don't defend yourself.
Right.
But at this time, there's no need, because like I said, like if everyone was to dead and the aim of life reduction was to come, then the system would fall anyway. So we don't need to worry about the system. It's falling.
Yeah, it's destroying itself.
Exactly. And our job is to put out good tracks and help it fall a little bit better.
Came from an ape in a cave. Mine at all wanna give chase through the maze. For less than a blade and an 8 for the grade. Take me away, wanna lock me down like an ape in a cage. Raid my mum's gates and the place where I stay. No, not today. Son of Shaka Zulu, heart that's brave. Can't erase my DNA. Hold a Saturday on a Saturday and try live the way King Selassie I say. So I never sold crack in the alleyway. Classified as strain, that no matter anyway. Never been a slave to the latest craze. Fire blaze too hot to find a way. Don't celebrate any funny holiday. Monkey business. What kind of man a day call? I never came from an ape in a cave. Lost on a shaka since back in the day. I never came from an ape in a cave. Still wanna lock me down like an ape in a cave. From ionized civilization came. I never came from an ape in a cave. Celebrate like I'm meditating no grave. I never came from an ape in a cave. I never came from an ape in a cave. Lost on a shaka since back in the day. I never came from an ape in a cave. Still wanna lock me down like an ape in a cave. From ionized civilization came. I never came from an ape in a cave. Celebrate like I'm meditating no grave. I never came from an ape in a cave. I never came from an ape in a cave. My history started before man a slave. No was on toe, Zulu tribal war dance in a rave car. I never came from an ape in a cage. Scientists take the blame for mistakes that were made. AIDS came from an ape in a cage. Man made like crack to erase our race. Never came from an ape in a cage. I'm an agent of change, awaiting a change. Look in the book, then took out a page. Now I'm the face that looks out of place. Still never came from an ape in a cage. Came from the higher planes, time and space. Spit 2 rhymes to the mind, engage worldwide. I receive embrace, car. I never came from an ape in a cage.
Lost on a shaka since back in the day.
I never came from an ape in a cage.
Still wanna lock me down like an ape in a cage.
From ionized civilization came. I never came from an ape in a cage.
Celebrate like I'm meditating no grave.
I never came from an ape in a cave. I never came from an ape in a cave.
Lost on a shaka since back in the day.
I never came from an ape in a cave.
Still wanna lock me down like an ape in a cage.
From ionized civilization came. I never came from an ape in a cave.
Celebrate like I'm meditating no grave.
I never came from an ape in a cave. Reminisce since the beginning of Genesis. Selassie I lives. We never came from an ape in a cave. We built the pyramids with our bare fingertips. Ever living life, unlimited creation, and is a mother nature's image. From the elements mankind came to resist. All partake in Roman practices. I never came from an ape in a. You never came from an ape in a. We never came from an ape in a. Because we all come from Africa. I never came from an ape in a. He never came from an ape in a. And she never came from an ape in a. Red, gold and green Ethiopia. I man never come from no cave, you know. Try to take man for monkey. You know, I rap when I say this boy, cause I come from the eve of creation with 2 atoms rubbered up together. Mother and father come lie down and bring forth life.
But I also like to say, in terms of like production wise, and like we were talking earlier in the conversation, it's really a complete album. Because I mean, the track "Shut 'Em Down," Morph, you stopped a beat for it. I mean, that track, and then you got tracks that are just so like you said, people say, oh, they don't want to approach you, Rostamate. I mean, has anybody heard Ugly Betty? That is a hilarious track, man. You would never believe it. We've picked up different language and words like full air. Like, America gave me full air, man. She was walking, I didn't know what air was. I mean, high side note, you know, like she hot girl, high side over here. But yeah, man, this Holy War was really, really, really good. I know Zara's looking at me. What you want to say?
I didn't want to say. I'm just looking at you because it's true.
Okay, all right. So, all right, okay. So, moving on.
Actually, it's in the same vein.
Yeah,
as
it's in the
Holy
same.
War. Like, how do you manage to make so many songs?
Yeah, you got 46 on Job Messenger. You got 23 on Rolling Stone, and Rolling Stone is free, available at that Piff. I mean, it's not like. How you able to do this? You have, like you said earlier, you have your own children. You do some volunteer work. I mean, you're doing this interview with us, and this is right now. It's like, do you sleep?
Only 24 hours in a day.
It's only 24 hours in a day. Does Job give you extra time in the day? Because shoot, I need some too. Shoot.
You know, I'm a bit of an extremist. So anything I do it a lot. I'm trying to bring balance into my life. Mm-hmm. Because, for example, I'd say between 2006 when I met Morpheus to like this year, or 2005 to about this year, or just in my life in general, I probably spent about 7 years in the studio, back to back. If you add up all the time I spent in the studio, but a lot of that time has been within that, like between 2005 and 2015 kind of thing. So not so much. Beginning of this year, I've kind of retired a bit from recording music. So I still do, but not in the same vein, because I'm trying to do more things like the volunteer work, youth work. Mm-hmm. I'm doing a bit of mentoring at the moment, and that's through certain companies and things like that. But just generally, I work with the young people around me. I will chat to them, I work with them, I reason with them, because like, I was a child once, and people used to chat to me and give me certain insights. So why not? Like, it's each one teach one. Naturally, like, there are responsibility, and I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't get people that you got to stay connected, because the truth will be revealed to the babe and the suckling. The Bible will tell you, innit? So, and not only that, the young people see things from a different perspective. They see the world as it's coming at them. Right. We've already got formed opinions and things from the past, which have set our tones, and we might not be able to shake them. It's hard for old tigers to change stripes, but they've come into the world as it is now, and they've got a fresh perspective, and problems need solutions. And the reason why a lot of time we haven't got solutions is because we're looking at it from the same old angles. So it's to connect with them and then to turn around and implement it. So like you were saying earlier about the music and having this appeal to, like you're saying, like you like Here Come the Girls, and then the songs like Fire Bun and the song and Shotters Convention, and where different people, like, and you were saying that some brothers are all fire, but they ain't really got the knowledge. And then some brothers are all knowledge, but they ain't really got the fire. So the whole thing about John Messenger is bringing the people together. So the ones with the fire can turn around and have some direction from the ones with the knowledge. Or the ones with the insight can turn around and give some kind of mission statement to the ones with the fire. And the ones about who are good at organizing can turn around and, collectively using our skills in order to effectively get to the solutions that we need to get to, as opposed to, no, this is about me, 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 me. So you were saying earlier about the whole pop idol thing and whatever, back to being an idol worship. We worship things like money, or we worship, people might be, you could be a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, whatever, but then you worship money, your action. Because as much as you might have the beads, or you might have the cross, or you might have the rasta locks down to your toes, or you might have the ashe everywhere you go, or whatever, but the reality of your actions, if you were to turn around objectively and watch it, is like you will put material things before that practice or whatever, and you are what you do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Not so much as you are what you say. You manifest what you say eventually if you turn around and think it and say it long enough.
Right.
But it's your actions continually form your character. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, and a lot of times we end up worshiping people. See, like for example, in Babylon, I was reading what's the brother's name? I was watching one documentary with. There's a brother who's on Hidden Colors. He's kind of he's a black man, but he's in his Native American roots kind of thing. He's got like a long ponytail at the back. His name, can't remember his name, but he's a deep brother still. And he was talking about the fact that Africans never really worshipped individuals. We were celebrated events. And if you check, and he was talking about how, like, see, like for example, the months of the year would be Julius Caesar, July, and Augustine, whoever the case may be, that, because it's more of the person worship. Whereas if you check the deities in ancient Kemeticism, they would be like the eagle, because the eagle would turn around and have the 360 degrees, would have high overview of all things. So that would be the specific thing that we would be celebrating in that deity or that element of creation, is the fact of a high overview. You know what I mean? So you can have a good insight into what's going on. The owl would have 360 degrees vision, so we'd have a good thought process of, or the Anubis, the dog. It's smell that bullshit. You know what I mean? That's why he was there on the judgment. So it's the fact of, we need to turn around and look at what's good in individuals and celebrate that, or what's good in what we're doing, or what's good in the things around us, and what's bad, dash it away, man. If it's good, if it's healthy, eat it. If it ain't, spit it out, man.
Right. That's right. And I don't have anything to say.
I was going to say, we have a hard time discerning I guess because we don't know ourselves as Africans, so we have a hard time discerning what type of ideologies and what type of worldviews are European. And that's very European to worship individuals, because they are the ones who laud individualism. And
it's funny,
that's not African.
Yeah, and it's funny you said you mentioned the calendar. The calendar is called the Gregorian calendar that it's been imposed on us. The Gregorian calendar. You know what I'm saying? So you got the July, Julius Caesar. There you go.
Yeah, we have to discern what's African and what's European, and it's so muddled, that we just take it on as, especially when Europeans make all their culture universal. So, but that's all I had to add.
Yeah, that's all.
Because once you get on a certain path, you're around certain people, even like, see, like you were saying about the technology and collectively, but still, as much as we've forwarded, but the mission's still the same. But to some degree, I think a lot of the time, the mission is still the same. A lot of the time, the problem is, and even like, I just finished reading Marcus Garvey's autobiography, A Negro in a Hat, yeah? And a lot of the problems was, we was trying to be too much together, like, as in physically together under each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Problems, yeah? Where we have the power of the internet, we can do a lot of organizing, but from the comfort of our own space. So, it's good that we can come together and face to face, because it's the human value. But you know, like, for example, like I said, I have children, yeah? When you've got 6 children in the house all at one time, or you've got like a party or whatever, after a couple, or you've got 3-4 days, they get agitated, they get annoyed, they get short with each other. That's how people stay. And so when we're all trying to organize and have this event and we're trying to be under each other and we're trying to get a job together and then we're trying to go out raving together on Friday and then we're trying to go to the meeting on Monday. First, we get some other friends. Do some yeah? So where we have this power of the internet now, you could turn around and have, see that we're using this right now. We're having a net meeting. You're all the way in Texas, I'm all the way over here. But we can still connect because we're of like mind and we're of like cause and thing. And then we can go back to doing what you're doing in Texas. I can go back to what I'm doing in London, and the mission still progresses. Right. As opposed to having to spend X amount on, in 1920 would have been a boat ride for 2 months to turn around and get over here to have the same meeting. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we need to use the technology that we have for the right things. And then instead of like I said, back to where people are on this idol worship thing, someone will do something wrong within the group or the cause, and we want to assassinate the individual as opposed to tackle the wrongdoing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, right? Brother Minister Steve turned around and I don't know, he was stealing from the collection plate, or he was stealing from the group donations for us to go on our group mission to Africa. Well, Brother Minister Steve, you're on 6 months probation or whatever, and you ain't allowed around the cookie jar no more. You can't have nothing else. But instead, we'll turn around and slaughter his character and you know, and dig up dirt on him and be chatting pooing about him on Facebook and using the technology for negative means. You know what I mean? And then what the energy you put out is what you get, and then it becomes a big passer and a big tomfoolery or coonery because we're all pointing fingers and pointing blame, and this one slept with that one and that happened here and he punched this one and it all turns into, you know, but because we're in idol worship, we're not dealing with things in realistic terms. When you're dealing with it as man to man, you think, well, you know, people make mistakes. Humans make mistakes. You made a mistake. Let's deal with it accordingly. Find a solution to the situation. Maybe give them a new role. Even worst case scenario, send them out there in the field for 6 months to Siberia or whatever. Who knows? But there's solutions around things as opposed to bickering. And I think that's a lot of the problem when you try to get around in these kind of collectors of people that are like, yeah, all right, let's do this, let's do that, or whatever. And then you try to get together and pull some money or pull some resources or whatever, and then it becomes, no, but you did this and he said, she said. So
it's
in public.
It's funny he said that because that before you called in, that's what Zara and myself were actually talking about, because there's a popular amongst, I'll put this in quotes, conscious or, you know, African-centered like people in America that, you know, one of the books we've read is great book, phenomenal book, everybody should read it, Chancellor Williams' Destruction of Black Civilization. And towards the end of that book, he has a blueprint, and, you know, he says like Africans in America are are positioned best to lead the Pan-African movement. Now, you know that makes some people feel really good because they like to say they're leaders over here just by virtue that we are in the empire. You know, I'm an African American, so I'm better than a Jamaican. Mm-hmm. I come from African America.
I'm more enlightened.
And so, while when you look at that analysis, you got to think Chancellor Williams published that book in late 60s, and he was born, I believe, in the 19th century. So late 19th century, of course. But when you look at that, the technology has changed so much where you look at it, America is still the market, right? But at the same time, when you got Skype and everything else, and you look who owns America. It's basically people outside of America. So when we look at this Pan-African project, like you said, it doesn't mean we have to, I want to go back and live in Africa eventually. Well, that's where I want to go. But it doesn't mean, okay, how we have to do this, we all have to get on a boat and go to Africa. No. I can say I talked to a brother named Raggo Zulu who get wild with it, you know what I'm saying? like best ragamuffin do. And we say, hey, man, look, it's a couple stores over here on this corner over here, off over in here. And what we can do, pull some money together, we buy that and then pull out the money like that and then put in a mutual fund and then grow it, have institutions all over the world. A little before you know it, we owning stuff around the world. And then we can say, guess what? Cut the IMF up out them African countries that was created by the Berlin Conference. Then we can start some development over there. We don't have to but we have this. So what it means is this. Yeah, we have to take the markets and take this, that, and the other, but it's not just by proximity because I'm over here, I'm the best one or I'm the best one. Mm-hmm. Technology has erased that, but the objective is still the same. We still got a continent that's under imperial domination. We still got problems wherever we are. And our greatest weakness, our dispersal, the diaspora, can be our greatest strength. But we want to organize tactically in the way that was appropriate for Garvey to do at a particular time, that because we didn't have Skype. You know what I'm saying? And so I would have never been able. That's why, nowadays people are finding out there's Africans in Brazil. Brazil is black? Got blacks in Brazil? I did not know that. Is racism there?
Brazil is so black, yeah. In the 16th century or something, they sent like 3 or 4 boatloads of white women.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes, yeah, exactly.
They were like, no, this place is too black. You see colonial power sending white women into black men. It's rare. It's not something they do often. As a matter of fact, that's the whole purpose of racism and white supremacy in the turn place. Yeah? To turn around and maintain that so the whole planet don't turn into a black planet.
Right.
Fear of a black planet.
It was like, shit, what can we do? Sending the queen. Back to what I said to you about it being a very, Babylon being very departmentalized. Like, I've got an analogy, it's like a body, yeah? And when one part of it goes wrong, or when something goes wrong, they will cut off say for example, there was something wrong with the finger, or the finger's rebelling. The little fingernail, this little fingernail here is rebelling. They'll cut off the whole finger and say, don't worry, we got rid of the problem, yeah? So what they'll do, but the problem is not the finger, the problem is the whole body.
Yes.
Yeah? And what they turn around and do now, where they're so departmentalized, like you said, it's like chess. They'll turn around and, for them to turn around and even throw away the queen is nothing to them because it's just a game. It's
right.
It's physically separate away from the situation. So to turn around and throw away all them women into the thing, it wasn't, as much as it's not idealistic, it wasn't me, basically. And that's how it works. Individualism. Woo! Save my tail.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why it will fall, because there's only so much of your own tail you can continually save.
Exactly.
And like I said earlier, like the whole pimping is just about 5 degrees of pimping, or 20 degrees of pimping, or 25 degrees of pimping, or 55 degrees of pimping, or 65 degrees of pimping, or how much pimping, but it's just that little individual like that keeps us separated, that 2%, that rare. Or do you know what? I got a car and a house. Or do you know what? I got a mansion and a gold bathtub. Or do you know what? I got a phone. And like, oh, well, I got a cardboard box. Well, I got shoes. Well, I got some slippers, That keeps us separated, people trying to climb up this food chain, but there's no food on the chain.
Exactly. And like you just said, the ruling classes are white at this particular juncture. They don't care about other white folks.
No, they don't.
They just use that, you know what I'm saying, in order to, play the game so that they won't turn against them. And, we as African people we need to organize ourselves. I wouldn't say go try to rally up everybody, but let's get our house in order. But at the same time, when you say brothers, you look at brothers and sisters like, all white people are rich. Not all, no, they not. They don't care about all white people.
All united.
Two things, yeah? Boom. One, you were saying about the whole, the other one's going to be about the thing of racism, so remind me, yeah?
Gotcha.
You were saying at this particular point in time, the ruling elite is all white, yeah? And boom. And they don't care about their own people in this time. They never did. If you go back to England before America and all these things there, or whatever the case may be, look how them man they dealt with the Irish.
Yep.
Look how they dealt with their own in England. Yeah?
Yes.
The king and the queen are doing all right. They're nice. Yeah? They hook up a couple cousins, and a couple cousins give their couple of their nephews, friends, and relatives certain jobs. And then that's the nobility and whatever. And they pimp and tax everybody else. Yeah? If anytime you watch any of them old English films like Robin Hood, yeah, everyone is living in dire poverty.
That's right.
All they have is bread and beer. That's
feudalism. That's feudalism. Yep.
There you go. When you're living on beer bread, yeah, like there's a big pot of beer and drinking like for your life, yeah, that's poverty.
Yeah,
and
so
those people cared about those people. They never have. It's not the nature of them to care. Like that's not the nature of that. And if you check all the revolutions in Europe, it's because the people were peed off. They didn't have no bread.
That's
like,
right.
What happened? How have we got all this riches and been plumaging half the world? And you're telling me about empire and monarchy and all this here, and we ain't even got bread.
That's
That
right.
make no sense. So, but yeah, man.
And then you was gonna say something about it's funny you said that because even in Britain, yeah, like back in the day, they had to have like in the 1960s, they had to have a permit to beg. You know what I'm saying? When everybody touts the Industrial Revolution, that was hell. I mean, remember the stories of Tiny Tim and Charles Dickens? That was some bad. They tell you all the time. There's some bad shit going on. So
with all their stories.
All the stories.
Queen would have a bath once a year, and it was a privilege.
Yes. Yes, I read that in Barashango. Yes, I mean, yes, they would have Dr. Barashango, but
you were gonna say something about racism.
Yeah. And you said about all white people being racist. Racism is not the power. Racism is not, you black monkey, go back home. That's not racism.
No.
That's prejudice and ignorance.
That's right.
Racism is the power to turn around and stop or oppress another nation.
That's true.
From making achievements or developments systematically to better themselves. Yeah. So by you just calling me a black, by a Chinese man calling me a black monkey, or me calling a Chinese man a yellow monkey, or by a white man calling me a nigger or whatever, that has no real power over me unless I'm weak. Yeah. And I'm like, my day.
Exactly.
That has no real power over me. By putting me in poor, lesser housing, yeah, by turning around and separating me from my history, by telling me that I'm a 3/5 of a human being, I'm subhuman, by giving me substandard, like I said, substandard living standards and schooling and education, that and job prospectuses, and that's racism.
Yes,
that's right.
That's oppression. That's of a particular ethnic group. That's what racism is. But people will turn around and throw around racism on YouTube comments talking about all black people this and this stupidness or whatever, and then that's why, like I said about language, that's where it gets mixed up in the cause, and people kind of use it for the wrong thing, and then it loses its thing, or you can't diffuse it or use it because no one actually knows what it is after a while. That's the trick of the English language. It changes so confused, and no one knows where things come from. And every time, if you check in history, every time one nation takes over another nation, all the books get burnt. All the griots, like you said, the storytellers, the shamans, the men that hold the history get killed. All the priests and the spiritual men or whatever, they all get killed. So you lose that whole entire sect of that people's history, and then a lot of time that history mixes with this and this mixes with that, and then turns into just all rough oral tradition. It's the best you can get, so you can't knock it, but there's so much information lost, so we don't really know,
Yeah, we've had that conversation several times with several people. I remember one in particular. Actually, when we went to Venezuela, it was this one. She was, I think she was half white and half Chinese. Yeah, and she was saying that she talked to one of her friends that was an African, and she said she never experienced racism. So I was like, okay, so the girl speaks English. She's an African. She doesn't need to be speaking English. She lives in the United States. Okay. That's the racist part. So what are you saying? Oh, nobody ever called her nigger. You know? So that's racism to them.
And it's funny, like you said earlier about the Irish. The Irish was the first British colony. So it really, racism is the ideological underpin of colonialism and imperialism. Right. Because at the end of the day, we still have to articulate it from our particular national perspective as Africans. But the Irishman has to say, as an Irishman, I've been colonized by the British, and colonialism sucks, and the fact of the matter is we could have just had glasses. They would have called it glassesism. Mm-hmm. They would have made up some, in Africa, everybody wear glasses.
On you, I'll do whatever.
Yeah, whenever somebody wants to have power over you, they'll come up with all kinds of isms and schisms.
Yeah, ism and schism. They'll tell her, because he's short, or he got one that second toe is longer than his big toe. Or whatever the reason, they'll find some kind of reason. Because have you ever seen them studies where they got the people and they give the people with the dark eyes power over the people with the light eyes, and then they all go in as friends, and then eventually, after about an hour and a half, the people with the dark eyes that have the power just turn around and turn crazy, or not crazy, but power hungry, and start acting certain ways to maintain control over the people and rest their territory. It brings the whole nasty, because it's just the nature of power in human beings, is who we are and how we are. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's right. The way things go. So, the problem with power, generally, if you look through history, is it's handed down, people either take it or it's handed down. Yeah. And more often, the people that take it have a better idea of what to kind of do with it, because they've seen what not to do with it, because they've had to take over, But then their ideologies or whatever, just like with any religious group or whatever, when it gets handed down, it's from a different perspective as the original perspective, and it gets taken out of context. And then when people are trying to reapply or to maintain it for the, like I said, they've attached love or that good feeling that we've got the tune highest vibration. They've attached the feeling of being connected to the highest vibration with that sentiment, and then it gets lost. You know what I mean? Because it's no longer about a free thing. It's like trying to have a romantic situation in the same way every night.
Exactly.
It's not going to happen. You have to find different ways to spark that connection.
Yes.
But people get accustomed and locked in rituals and
exactly.
Not that tradition's wrong, but you know.
Yeah, they try to commodify stuff and they try to make, what should be organically evolving and turn it into a product, kind of like with artists, and try to make it live, like make it something you can purchase, something that can be consumed. And, it's just like we were saying, like, racism is not, genetic. It is, it's taught, and it's also an ideology of a dominant group. You know what I'm saying? That's why, when people look at Obama, they say, well, America is not racist anymore because there's a black president. You know what? Those in power, they will co-opt dog shit. That's what, H. Rap Brown, Jamil El-Amin said, if it's into their interest, they don't care. And just like we said, they don't care about their own, people who have absolute power, they have one goal: to maintain power. If it's racism, glassism, dogism, whatever isms, big toeism, they'll take the isms, damn it, and create something and put a scientist to say, well, actually, when the big toe is bigger, it means that Negro, let's change it up. It's not Negro's toe, let's call him Tigro. That Tigro must be oppressed because he come from the land of Tigroism or something, whatever. But yeah, I'm sorry.
It's true. It's the realest thing, man.
Can't get caught up in the street life. Thief and informer in the street life. No law and order in the street life. Can't bring our son or daughter in the street life. Best take caution in the street life. Before we make our kids orphans in the street life. All alone walking in the street life. Live reporting from the street life. Can't get caught up in the street life. Mommy taught me how to see right. Only walk if it's the green light. Not true stories, this is real life. I don't business what them feel like. If they cross the borderline, the dog's teeth will bite. Always see that.
Okay, so that is the end of this podcast with Raggo Zulu Rebel. But if you want to finish listening to this interview in its entirety, all you have to do is go to conscientization101.com or c101magazine.com and subscribe today. You will have access to not only this interview, but to all of C101's full interviews, plus much more. So go to the site and look at the subscription benefits for full details. Most importantly, you will be supporting 100% independent media. We want to thank Raggo Zulu Rebel for taking the time to dialogue with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And the music featured on this episode was Shut 'Em Down and Ape in a Cave from Raggo Zulu Rebel's album Holy War, World War I. The tracks Bond Them Down featuring Cyclonius and Marcus Garvey, RBG featuring Isis Star and Zion Citizen from Rebs' album The Return of Jah Messenger. And the one you are listening to now is Street Life from Raggo's album I Walk Alone. You can find links to get these albums on our site in the description of this episode, as you can for all music featured in our podcast episodes. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Conscien1, that's CONSCIEN1, on Facebook at Conscientization101, and Instagram at C101 Editors. All right, see you next time.
Live reporting from the street life. Can't get caught up in the street life. No law and order in the street life. Best take caution in the street life. All alone walking in the street.